A hard-working single mom shows up at her job with her young daughter, but when the wealthy CEO notices the necklace hanging from the girl's neck, he instantly recognizes it, leaving him stunned by the hidden truth. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment with the city you're watching from. And when we finish, don't forget to rate this story on a scale from 0 to 10. Enjoy! They say life changes in the most ordinary places, in the most unremarkable moments, when you least expect it. For me, that moment happened in a cramped cafe at the corner of a noisy street. I wasn't supposed to be there. I rarely stopped for anything as mundane as coffee outside the walls of my glass towers, but a business meeting had been cancelled, and for once I had nowhere to be. I slipped inside mostly to avoid the drizzle, sat at a table near the window, and tried to convince myself that silence and bitter espresso would soothe my restless thoughts. That's when I saw her. Anna moved between the tables with the quiet precision of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. Her uniform was a little faded, her hair hastily tied back, but there was a resilience in her posture that caught my attention. She wasn't smiling for tips, wasn't lowering her gaze to please the customers, she simply worked, efficient and steady, as if carrying an invisible weight that only she could balance. I wouldn't have thought much of it, until the small girl appeared. The child ran between the tables, light steps echoing against the wooden floor. She must have been 6 or 7, with a laugh that momentarily drowned out the clinking of cups. She wasn't careful, and in her rush, she bumped into me, nearly knocking my phone out of my hand. I caught it just in time, but what stopped me cold wasn't her apology. It was the glint of a small pendant that dangled against her chest, catching the light. My chest tightened instantly. That pendant, silver, delicate, engraved with initials, was the one I had given, years ago, to the only woman I had ever loved without calculation. A gift from another lifetime, one I thought had vanished along with her. The girl's eyes widened. "Sorry, mister," she said, her small voice trembling, but before I could reply Anna was there, kneeling, pulling the child close. "Lilia, how many times have I told you not to run in here?" Her voice carried both reprimand and worry, the kind only a mother can balance. She glanced at me quickly, her cheeks flushed. "I apologize, sir. She doesn't usually." "She's fine," I interrupted, though my gaze was fixed on the pendant. "Where did she get that?" The words left my mouth sharper than I intended. Anna stiffened. Her hand instinctively covered the pendant as if she could hide it from me. "It's just a gift," she murmured. She didn't meet my eyes, and for the first time in years, I felt my composure slip. My mind raced back to nights under cheap neon lights, promises whispered with conviction, a love I had buried because ambition had demanded it. Could it be possible? Could this girl, this child, be mine? I leaned back, forcing myself into calmness, though my pulse hammered. "A beautiful piece," I said softly, almost testing her. "Unusual design. Not something you see often." Anna's lips pressed into a line. "Please," she said quietly, almost pleading, "don't ask questions you don't need answers to." She turned away with her daughter, leaving me frozen at the table, staring after them. But once you see a reflection of your past in someone's eyes, you can't unsee it. The cafe felt suddenly too small, too loud, too full of ghosts I had never intended to meet again. I watched Anna retreat behind the counter, Lilia clinging to her side, and I realized my life, carefully built, perfectly calculated, was about to unravel. Because if that pendant was truly what I thought it was, then the child who wore it was not just any child. She was mine. And Anna knew it. I couldn't leave the cafe that day. My instincts told me to get up, walk out, and bury the moment before it consumed me. But something deeper, a force I couldn't name, kept me in that chair, watching her move behind the counter, her daughter close at her side. Every time Anna leaned down to speak to the girl, I caught fragments of their bond, quiet words that only a child and mother share. And every time the pendant glimmered under the dim lights, I felt the ground shifting beneath me. When she finally approached my table with the bill, her hand trembled just slightly. She placed it down without looking me in the eye. "I hope everything was fine," she said, her voice too formal, too distant for a woman who had once laughed with me under street lamps until dawn. "Anna," I said, the name slipping out before I could stop myself. She froze. For the first time, her eyes met mine, and in them I saw recognition, hesitation, and something darker, fear. "It's been a long time," I added. She drew in a slow breath, her voice steady but sharp. "That part of my life is over. Please respect that." I leaned forward, lowering my voice so the girl wouldn't hear. "Where did she get that pendant? Tell me the truth." Her lips pressed together. She shook her head. "You don't understand." "Then help me understand," I insisted. "That design, those initials, I gave it to someone once. Someone I thought I lost." Anna's eyes flickered. For a moment, she looked like she might collapse into the chair across from me and confess everything. Instead, she straightened, her voice clipped. "You need to leave, Alexander. This cafe isn't part of your world." She turned away, but I couldn't let it go. I stood, following her to the counter, ignoring the curious stares of the other customers. "Is she mine?" The words left me in a whisper, but they carried the weight of years. Her shoulders stiffened. "You have no right to ask me that." "Then why are you afraid of the answer?" I countered. For the first time, her mask cracked. Pain flashed across her face. She glanced toward Lilia, who was drawing on a napkin with a pen, blissfully unaware of the storm around her. Then Anna looked back at me, her voice breaking. "Because the past is poison, and I won't let it touch her. Not now. Not ever." I wanted to argue, to demand clarity, but something in her tone silenced me. She wasn't lying to protect herself. She was protecting the child. And that terrified me more than any answer could. I left the cafe with questions clawing at me, each one sharper than the last. Could it be true? Had I spent years chasing empty successes while the one thing that mattered most, my own flesh and blood, was growing up without me? That night I couldn't sleep. The city skyline, usually a comfort, mocked me with its cold brilliance. My mind replayed every word, every look, every unfinished sentence between us. But beneath the confusion, one truth had settled deep inside me: Anna was hiding something. And secrets don't stay buried forever. Especially not when they belong to me. The following days blurred into a restless haze. I buried myself in board meetings, signed contracts worth millions, shook hands with politicians and investors, but every face I saw reminded me of hers, every child I passed on the street carried the shadow of the girl in the cafe. I told myself it was obsession, a trick of nostalgia, yet every time I closed my eyes I saw the pendant glimmering on that little chest. It wasn't coincidence. It couldn't be. I returned to the cafe a week later. Not because I had business there, but because I needed answers. The place buzzed with unusual energy that morning, too much chatter, too many glances aimed at me when I stepped inside. Anna stiffened as soon as she saw me, as if she'd been bracing for this moment. But before either of us could speak, the whispers began. "That's him, the man who was here with her last week. Do you think he's the father? Look at the girl, she has his eyes." The air thickened. I felt dozens of eyes burning holes into us. Customers craned their necks, and even the other waitresses couldn't disguise their curiosity. The rumor had spread, twisting itself into scandal. By the time I reached the counter, Anna's face was pale, her jaw set. "You shouldn't have come back," she hissed under her breath. "They've been talking since the first time. Now they're convinced." "Convinced of what?" I asked, though I already knew. "That you and I," she stopped herself, glancing at her daughter who was watching us with wide eyes. Then, lower, "that Lilia is yours." I felt something sharp stab through me, not anger, not fear, but an almost dangerous hope. Before I could respond, a man at the corner table spoke too loudly, his voice dripping with derision. Rich men always find ways to buy themselves new families. The entire cafe went silent. Anna's hands shook as she wiped the counter, trying to appear indifferent. But I saw the humiliation on her face, and for the first time in years, I felt protective rage stir in me. This wasn't just gossip. It was a threat to her dignity, and to the child. That night, I called her. She didn't answer. The next evening, I returned again, waiting outside until she closed the cafe. She tried to walk past me, but I blocked her path. "We can't ignore this," I said. "We can," she snapped. "We must." "No," I insisted, softer now. "If we stay silent, the whispers grow. You'll be painted as a liar, a schemer." And I paused, realizing how much was at stake. My name is already in their mouths. If we don't control this, it will destroy you. Her eyes narrowed. "And what do you suggest, Alexander? That I stand next to you smiling, pretending to be the woman you chose? That I let them believe we're together?" "Yes," I said simply. The word stunned even me. "For a while. Until the noise dies down." She laughed bitterly, shaking her head. "I can't afford that kind of pretense." "You can't afford not to," I countered. Then, lowering my voice, "I'll make sure you and Lilia never worry about money again. You'll move out of this apartment, away from these whispers. You'll have security. Stability. All I ask is that, for the public, you play the role." Silence stretched between us. I could see the war inside her, pride battling with exhaustion. She wanted to refuse, I knew it. But the lines on her face told the truth, the bills, the double shifts, the fear of losing everything she had fought to hold together. Finally, she whispered, "You want me to sell my life as a performance?" "No," I said, meeting her eyes. "I want you to borrow mine, until you're strong enough to live without it." She looked away, but not before I saw a flicker of something, reluctant surrender, or perhaps silent agreement. She didn't answer that night. She just walked off into the dark with her daughter's hand in hers. But the next morning, I received a message. Just 5 words, typed quickly, without warmth. "I'll do it. For her." And with those words, Anna stepped into my world. What neither of us knew was that the performance we had agreed upon would soon turn into something far more dangerous than rumor. Something real. The day Anna and her daughter stepped into my penthouse, the silence of my carefully arranged life broke forever. I had grown used to marble floors that echoed with nothing but my own footsteps, to the sterile shine of polished glass that reflected only me. That morning, as the elevator doors slid open and Anna entered holding Lilia's hand, the entire space seemed to shrink and expand at once. My world had never looked so full, and so fragile. Lilia's gasp filled the air as her small eyes darted from the floor-to-ceiling windows to the crystal chandelier above. She ran toward the grand piano in the corner, her laughter bouncing off the walls. I hadn't heard laughter in this place in years. Anna, however, didn't share her daughter's delight. She lingered by the entrance, clutching her worn handbag like a shield. Her eyes traveled across the room, expensive art, imported rugs, leather couches, but instead of awe, I saw unease. She whispered, almost to herself, "This isn't our world." I stepped closer, my voice steady. "It is, for now. No one will question you here. No whispers, no accusations. Just safety." Her gaze met mine, filled with skepticism. "Safety doesn't come from marble floors, Alexander. You can't buy peace of mind." Her words stung because they were true. For all my wealth, my nights were restless, haunted by past decisions. Yet watching her shoulders tense as if the very walls might crush her, I felt an urge I hadn't known in years, the urge to prove I could be more than money. Dinner that evening was awkward, almost painfully so. I had instructed the chef to prepare a meal fit for royalty, but Anna and Lilia sat stiffly at the massive dining table, and used to silver cutlery and porcelain plates. Lilia poked at the food shyly before asking, "Do you eat like this every night?" Her innocence made me laugh, but Anna shot me a warning glance. "Not always," I admitted gently, lowering my tone to the girl. "Sometimes I eat sandwiches in front of the television like everyone else." Lilia giggled, and for the first time, Anna's lips curved into a reluctant smile. It was brief, but it shook me more than any victory in a boardroom. Later, I found Lilia wandering the hall, her small hands brushing the paintings as if they were pages in a storybook. I crouched down beside her. "Do you like it here?" I asked. She nodded eagerly. "It's like a castle." "Are you the king?" I hesitated, then answered, "Maybe. But even kings get lonely in castles." She tilted her head, thoughtful in a way that only children can be. "Then maybe you need a princess." Her words pierced deeper than she could ever know. That night, as I stood by the window overlooking the city, I heard Anna's quiet footsteps behind me. She spoke without preamble. "This isn't real, Alexander. We're here because of gossip and money, not because we belong." I turned to face her. "Perhaps. But sometimes pretending gives life a chance to change. And maybe, in that change, we'll find something real." She shook her head, unwilling to believe. But I noticed her hand linger on the doorframe as she walked away, as if part of her feared letting go of this fragile arrangement. For the first time in years, I realized I wasn't staring out at the city dreaming of new conquests. I was staring into the rooms behind me, wondering if I was capable of something far more dangerous than empire building, wondering if I could learn to be a man worthy of the trust of a woman who didn't want to need me, and a child who already saw me as something I had never been before. And as the night settled, I knew one thing with certainty: whatever this arrangement began as, it would not stay a performance for long. The first week with Anna and Lilia in my home brought a rhythm I hadn't anticipated. The penthouse, once silent and sterile, now pulsed with small sounds, footsteps too light to be mine, laughter echoing down marble halls, the faint hum of bedtime stories whispered behind closed doors. For the first time in years, I felt the weight of my empire ease, as if wealth alone wasn't the center of my existence anymore. But peace has a way of attracting storms. Her name was Veronica. My longtime business partner, a woman who had stood at my side during mergers and negotiations, and who had never hidden her ambition for something beyond contracts. When she heard I had moved a woman and child into my home, she didn't wait long before arriving unannounced. She entered my office one evening, her perfume heavy, her smile thin. "So it's true," she said, glancing at the framed photo on my desk that Lilia had insisted on taking, three of us, awkwardly posed yet strangely natural. "You've decided to play family with a waitress and her child." I set down my pen slowly. "Be careful, Veronica." She laughed softly, circling the room like a predator testing its prey. "You think I don't see what this is? She's using you, Alexander. She's found a way to step from behind a counter into your penthouse, into your life, into your wealth. And the whole city is whispering that the child is yours. Do you realize what this does to your reputation?" I clenched my jaw. "My reputation is not your concern." "On the contrary," she replied, her tone sharper now. "Everything you do reflects on me. On our business. Investors don't want scandal. They don't want rumors of hidden children and desperate women clinging to your fortune. They want strength, clarity, control." I stood then, closing the distance between us. "And you believe you can provide that? That I should dismiss a woman who has done nothing but fight for her child's survival because you crave the illusion of respectability?" Her smile faltered. For the first time, I saw the envy behind her composure. "You could have chosen anyone, Alexander. But you chose her. Do you know what people are calling her already? An opportunist. A parasite. They laugh behind your back." Before I could respond, the door opened. Anna stood there, silent, holding a tray of coffee she must have brought at the staff's request. Her eyes flicked from me to Veronica, and in that fleeting second, I saw the humiliation she felt, the sting of words not meant for her ears but sharp enough to cut anyway. Veronica smirked, satisfied with the damage. "See," she whispered as she brushed past Anna on her way out. "Even she knows what I'm saying is true." The silence left in her wake was heavier than any courtroom I'd ever stood in. Anna placed the tray down carefully, her hands steady though her eyes betrayed the storm within. "I told you this was a mistake," she said quietly. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Don't listen to her. She thrives on poison." "But poison spreads," Anna replied, meeting my gaze with a painful honesty. "And soon, it will consume everything around us." I wanted to argue, to reassure her, but words felt useless. Instead, I watched as she left the room, her back straight, her pride intact, but her silence louder than any accusation. Later that night, as I checked on Lilia, I found her asleep clutching a drawing, 3 figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. One was taller than the rest, one wore a dress, and one had a pendant shining around her neck. In her world, we were already a family. I folded the paper carefully, realizing what Veronica could never understand: this wasn't about image, wealth, or power. It was about a little girl who had already given me a role I wasn't sure I deserved. And that terrified me more than any rival. It was late evening when the storm truly broke. Anna had just put Lilia to bed, her soft lullaby drifting through the penthouse halls like a fragile thread of peace, when the intercom buzzed. My doorman's voice was strained. "Sir, there's a man here insisting to see you. He says his name is Roman." The name meant nothing to me at first. But when Anna stepped into the room and heard it, her face turned ashen. Her lips parted, but no sound came. She gripped the back of the sofa as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. "Roman," she whispered. "He found us." I didn't need her explanation to understand. This was the man who had abandoned her years ago, the one who had left her pregnant and alone. And now, conveniently, he had returned, drawn not by fatherly guilt but by the scent of money. I told the doorman to send him up. I wanted to see this man face to face. Minutes later, the elevator doors slid open, and there he stood, expensive suit straining against his broad shoulders, his smile rehearsed, his arrogance unshaken by the past. He walked in as if the penthouse belonged to him, his eyes sweeping over the luxury, over Anna, and finally settling on the closed door behind which Lilia slept. "Alexander," he said smoothly, extending his hand as if we were business associates. I didn't take it. "I've come for my daughter." Anna gasped, stepping forward. "Your daughter? You left me the moment I told you I was pregnant. You wanted nothing to do with her." Roman's eyes narrowed, but he kept his tone calm, almost oily. "Circumstances change, Anna. I'm here now. And I've already filed for custody." He pulled a set of papers from his briefcase, slapping them onto my desk. "The court will decide. You can't deny a father his rights." I scanned the documents quickly, official stamps, signatures, a petition for full custody. My stomach turned at the audacity. "You think the court will hand her over to a man who abandoned her for years?" I said coldly. Roman shrugged. "The court doesn't care about emotions. They care about stability, wealth, opportunity. And from what I hear, Anna's life has changed. She lives here now, doesn't she? In your palace? That will be the story, that she trapped you, that she used her child to secure a fortune. I'll make sure of it." Anna trembled with rage. "You don't get to walk back into her life and call yourself a father. You forfeited that right years ago." He smirked. "We'll see what the judge says." The moment he left, slamming the elevator doors behind him, Anna collapsed onto the sofa, her face buried in her hands. "He'll take her, Alexander. He'll twist everything. They'll believe him." I knelt before her, forcing her to meet my eyes. No. He won't. Not while I'm here. I'll fight him with everything I have, my lawyers, my resources, my name. He won't touch her. Not now, not ever. But even as I spoke, I felt the weight of the coming battle pressing down on us. Roman wasn't just a ghost from Anna's past, he was a threat sharpened by greed, and he knew how to play dirty. That night, as I stood outside Lilia's door, listening to the quiet rhythm of her breathing, I realized this fight would define us. The world was about to judge not just Anna, but me, too. And for the first time in years, I wasn't worried about my fortune or my empire. I was worried about losing the little girl who had unknowingly given me something far more valuable than wealth. She had given me a reason to fight. And Roman had just declared war. Courtrooms have their own kind of silence. Not the silence of peace, nor the quiet of solitude, but a silence thick with judgment, where every whisper can tip the scales of fate. When Anna and I stepped into that chamber for the first hearing, I could feel her hand trembling beside me. Across the aisle sat Roman, his expensive lawyer at his side, their smug expressions already rehearsed for the cameras waiting outside. They had the arrogance of men who believed truth could be bought. The judge entered, her robe sweeping the floor, her face unreadable. She called the case, and suddenly our lives were no longer ours. They belonged to the court. Roman's lawyer spoke first, painting him as a man wronged by circumstance, a father denied his rightful place in his daughter's life. He gestured toward Anna with theatrical disdain, describing her as a struggling single mother who had leveraged her child for financial gain once she met me. Every word was venom disguised as law. Anna's eyes filled with tears, but she sat tall, refusing to let them fall. I reached for her hand under the table, squeezing it gently. She didn't look at me, but her grip tightened in return. When it was our turn, my attorney stood, calm and deliberate. He presented evidence of Roman's abandonment, letters unanswered, bills unpaid, years of silence when Anna had begged for help. But Roman leaned back in his chair, smirking, as if none of it mattered. He was waiting for his weapon, money. Your Honor, his lawyer declared, Mr. Roman has the resources to provide Lilia with the life she deserves, private schools, security, opportunities. Ms. Anna has none of these things without the support of Mr. Alexander. His eyes locked on me. And Mr. Alexander? He has no legal tie to this child. He is simply a benefactor. Generous, yes. But irrelevant. The judge turned her gaze toward me. Mr. Alexander, she said evenly, you've remained silent. What is your role in this child's life? The room seemed to shrink. All eyes were on me, Anna's, Roman's, the lawyers, the clerks. My throat tightened. I hadn't planned to speak yet, but in that moment, I knew hesitation would cost us everything. I rose slowly, my voice steady but heavy with truth. Your Honor, Lilia is not just Anna's daughter. She is mine. A ripple of gasps moved through the courtroom. Roman's smug mask faltered, his lawyer scrambling to object. But I continued, my words louder now. Years ago, before wealth and contracts, before this courtroom, Anna and I shared something real. I didn't know until recently that it had left a legacy, a child. But when I look at Lilia, I don't need documents or DNA to tell me what my heart already knows. She is my blood. She is my daughter. And I will fight to protect her as fiercely as if I had raised her from her first breath. The judge's pen paused mid-stroke. Anna turned toward me, her eyes wide with shock and something else, relief, perhaps, or fear. Roman rose from his seat, his voice breaking through the silence. He's lying. He's trying to steal her from me. But the damage was done. The truth, or at least the declaration of it, was in the open, and the court could not ignore it. The judge ordered a recess, her expression unreadable. Outside the chamber, Anna grabbed my arm, her voice trembling. Why did you say that? You don't know for sure. I looked at her firmly. Because I do know. And even if the world doubts me, I won't doubt her. Or you. For the first time, Anna's defenses cracked. She pressed her hand to her lips, fighting back sobs. You've just tied your name to mine in front of everyone. There's no turning back now. I touched her shoulder, my voice low. I don't want to turn back. But as we prepared to return to the courtroom, I knew this battle was only beginning. Roman wasn't defeated. He was wounded. And wounded men strike hardest. The courthouse emptied slowly, but I didn't leave. Neither did Anna. We stood in the quiet corridor outside the chamber, our footsteps echoing off marble walls, the weight of what I had just declared pressing down on both of us. She wouldn't look at me, not at first. Her hands clutched her handbag so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Finally, she broke the silence. Why, Alexander? Why did you say those words in there? Do you realize what you've done? You've told the world a story that can't be undone. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Because it isn't a story. It's the truth. The moment I saw that pendant on her neck, I knew. You didn't have to tell me. I knew she was mine. Her head snapped up, eyes burning with both anger and grief. And yet you left. You left when I needed you most. You chose your empire, your ambitions, over me. Do you think I could ever forget that? Her words cut deeper than any verdict a judge could deliver. I took a slow breath, steadying myself against the truth of her accusation. I was a fool. I thought love could wait. I thought success would give me the right to come back for you. But by the time I looked for you again, you were gone. She shook her head, her voice trembling. I wasn't gone. I was right there, carrying your child. And I couldn't tell you, Alexander. I couldn't face the rejection I knew would come. I reached out, gently taking her hand despite her resistance. Anna, if I had known, if I had even suspected, nothing could have kept me away. Not money, not ambition, not even pride. You should have told me. Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them away quickly, unwilling to let me see her break. I told myself I was protecting Lilia. From disappointment, from being treated as a mistake in your glittering world. She deserved better than to be your secret. Her words pierced me with guilt, but also with an undeniable truth. For years, she had carried not only our daughter but the burden of silence. She isn't a secret anymore, I said firmly. Not to me. Not to the court. And I won't let anyone take her away. Not Roman. Not the whispers. Not the world. For the first time since that day in the café, her eyes softened. She studied me quietly, as if searching for the man she once loved beneath the armor of a businessman. You speak as if you still love me, she whispered. I hesitated, then let the words fall, unguarded and raw. Because I do. I never stopped. Not for a single day. Silence hung between us, heavy and trembling. The corridor felt smaller, the air thicker. Slowly, she leaned back against the cold wall, closing her eyes. You don't know what you're saying. Love isn't enough, Alexander. It doesn't erase the years we lost. It doesn't undo the pain. I stepped closer, my voice breaking with honesty. No, it doesn't. But maybe it can heal what's left. Maybe it can give Lilia the family she deserves, the family we both robbed her of. Her lips parted as if to protest, but no words came. Only tears, quiet and unrelenting, sliding down her cheeks. I wanted to wipe them away, but I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I whispered the truth I had kept locked away for too long. Anna, I don't just want to protect you. I want to stand beside you. If you let me. She opened her eyes, meeting mine with a gaze that held every memory of our youth, every regret, every unsaid word. And if I can't, she asked softly. Then I'll wait, I said. As long as it takes. Because this time, I won't walk away. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The echoes of the courthouse faded into silence, leaving only us, and the truth between us. And though the battle with Roman was far from over, I knew that tonight we had crossed a line we could never retreat from. The past had finally been spoken aloud. And the future, for the first time, felt terrifyingly possible. In the days that followed my confession, I felt as if the air itself had changed. Anna no longer looked at me with the same cold distance, though she guarded herself carefully. Lilia, however, seemed to sense the shift. She clung to me more often, dragging me into her games, asking me to read her bedtime stories. Each time her small hand slipped into mine, I felt a bond tightening, a bond no court could quantify. And yet, the more I let myself hope, the more I sensed that someone else was waiting for her chance to strike. It was Veronica. She arrived at a charity gala I could not avoid, her entrance timed perfectly for maximum effect. Cameras flashed as she leaned close to me at the table, her laughter forced, her whispers loud enough for surrounding ears. "You've entangled yourself in quite the melodrama, Alexander. A waitress, a child whose paternity is questionable, a courtroom scandal. Do you think the board respects you after this?" I set my glass down carefully. "Veronica, leave it." But she didn't. Hours later, a tabloid headline appeared online: "Billionaire businessman and café waitress, a love story or a scheme?" Photographs of Anna, grainy but cruelly captioned, painted her as a gold digger, a manipulator who had ensnared me. The venom was clear, Veronica's hand was all over it. When Anna saw the article, her composure cracked. She stormed into my office, her voice trembling with fury and pain. "Do you see what they're saying about me? About Lilia? Do you understand what this means for her future? She'll grow up with everyone whispering that she was nothing but a tool in her mother's scheme." I rose to meet her, my chest tight. "Anna, listen to me, none of it matters. They can write what they like. The truth will outlast the lies." She shook her head violently. "Easy for you to say. You've always had power, money, influence. But me? I have nothing but my pride. And I won't let your world strip that from me." Her words stung because they carried truth. I reached for her hand, but she pulled back. "Anna, I didn't choose this arrangement out of pity. I didn't stand by you because of obligation. I did it because," my voice faltered, then steadied. "Because I love you. And I love her." She looked at me then, truly looked, and I saw the war raging in her eyes. "You think love is enough? That it erases the years you weren't there? That it silences the whispers, the headlines, the enemies waiting to tear us apart?" I swallowed hard. "No. But it gives us the strength to fight them. Together." She turned away, her shoulders trembling. For a long moment, she was silent. Then, softly, she said, "I don't know if I can trust that." "Not yet." That night, I found a drawing left on my desk. Lilia's work, 3 figures holding hands under a rainbow. Beneath it, in uneven letters, she had written, "My new family." I sat there for hours, staring at that innocent message, realizing that while Anna still doubted, our daughter already believed. And sometimes, a child sees the truth long before the adults dare to admit it. But belief alone would not protect us from the storm gathering outside. Roman was still fighting. Veronica was still scheming. And Anna was still uncertain whether my devotion was born of love, or simply guilt. The real test of love had only just begun. The final day in court felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Weeks of hearings, cross-examinations, and whispered threats had brought us here. The gallery was full, journalists, curious spectators, even board members from my company who wanted to see how their leader would survive a scandal that had nothing to do with business and everything to do with character. Anna sat beside me, pale but composed, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Lilia was not in the room, too young for this battlefield, but her presence lingered in every breath I took. Roman's lawyer made his final plea with the polish of a man who believed truth was irrelevant when one had wealth and paperwork. He leaned on the DNA, on Roman's supposed rights, on the image of a father eager to reclaim his child. But the mask slipped when Roman himself took the stand. His arrogance seeped through every sentence, how he could give Lilia more than her mother ever could, how men of success, like him, were more fit to raise a child than a struggling woman. The disdain in his voice was his undoing. I saw the judge's eyes harden with every word. When it was our turn, Anna rose. Her voice trembled at first, but steadied as she spoke of years of raising her daughter alone, the sleepless nights, the endless double shifts, the quiet battles no one saw. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She simply told the truth, and the courtroom hung on every word. Then, when she faltered, I stood. "Your Honor," I said, my voice carrying through the chamber, "I've been accused of entering this child's life out of convenience, out of obligation, out of scandal. But I want to say clearly, for the record, that none of that is true. The first time I saw Lilia, I recognized myself in her. Not just in her face, but in her spirit. And when I look at Anna, I see the woman who bore the weight of both our lives when I was too blind to see what mattered. This is not a performance. This is my family. And I will stand here every day for the rest of my life if that's what it takes to prove it." The silence afterward was heavy, unbroken, until the judge leaned forward. Her words were measured, deliberate. "I have heard enough. Custody will remain with Anna. Mr. Roman's petition is denied. Furthermore, given his absence from the child's life and his demonstrated lack of stability, visitation will not be granted at this time. This court finds it in the best interest of the child to remain where she has always been, safe, loved, and secure." The gavel struck. It was over. Roman exploded in protest, his lawyer tugging at his sleeve to silence him. But the decision was final. He stormed out, his fury echoing off marble walls, leaving behind nothing but the wreckage of his greed. Anna turned to me then, her eyes wide with disbelief, then brimming with tears she could no longer hold back. She whispered, "We won." I shook my head softly. "No, Anna. She won. Lilia finally won her freedom from him." Outside, cameras flashed like lightning, questions flying from every direction. For the first time, I didn't hide. I stepped forward, Anna at my side, and declared the truth aloud for the world to hear. "This is my family. Anna and Lilia. Not by contract, not by scandal, but by love. And no court, no rumor, no rival will take that from us." The flashbulbs exploded brighter, but I no longer cared. Anna's hand slipped into mine, not reluctantly, not for the cameras, but with quiet certainty. And in that moment, I knew the pretense was gone. That night, back in the penthouse, Lilia climbed into my lap with her newest drawing, 3 figures again, this time standing beneath a rainbow with a single word written in uneven letters, "Home." I folded the picture carefully, my chest tightening with a kind of peace I had never known. For years, I had built towers of steel and glass to prove my worth. Yet in the end, it was a small girl's drawing and the quiet strength of her mother that gave me something no empire ever could. A family. And this time, I would not let it slip away.